because I said I would last time, I'm going to do a second reading of my unfinished novel. So, here it comes, excerpt number 2 of chapter 1. The man, Hebron, turned around, lowering his sword slowly as he looked at the creature behind him. It was mostly humanoid, and could have passed as human apart from a few things. Its skin seemed to be made of a multitude of small ruby fragments. However, on closer inspection, it turned out to be made of the same material as Hebron's armor, but brighter. Bat-like wings, far more leathery in appearance than the creature's scaled body, were folded on its back. A reptilian tail protruded from its rear end. To round off this seemingly odd combination, 2 large curved horns poked out of long maroon hair. Its eyes were a striking amber color, with no pupils or whites. The creature was undoubtedly female, and would be attractive to nearly any male humanoid. "We'll take it back to the station, then continue the questioning," the creature continued. "We need not resort to violence here and now." Hebron addressed the creature. "Fair enough, Char. You're going to need to transform to your other form to help me get there slightly more discreetly." This little guy's beginning to kick up a storm. Indeed, the imp, realizing it was about to be taken away from its previous course, was attempting to get away from Hebron's grip, kicking at the man with its small clawed feet, and attempting to bite his hand. Luckily for Hebron, he had thick gloves on in addition to his scaled armor, and was able to escape injury. "True, but if you wait but a minute till we get in a less cramped area, I shall effect the change into my other form," the creature Hebron had called Char replied. The duo, managing to subdue the imp enough to carry it out fairly quickly, walked round the corner of the alley and into a much larger street, where Char stepped into the middle, all the while making sure nothing was coming from either direction, closed her eyes, concentrated for a moment, and changed. Suddenly, Char's body was no longer humanoid. Where she had stood was a very large, lizard-like creature, the same brilliant shade of red that Char was in her other form. The creature had similar wings, but of a proportion that fitted her new size, which was huge enough to dwarf any human. Her face had also become more reptilian and less humanoid. Large curved horns protruded from the top of her head, and a line of spines ran down her back and onto her long tail. Only one word would truly describe her: dragon. A voice that seemed to come from Char's closed mouth instructed Hebron to mount her back. The man climbed up Char's leg and straddled the back of her long neck, still holding the struggling imp. When Hebron had gotten ready, Char flexed her legs and jumped. She jumped so amazingly high that the buildings of the city were all clearly visible beneath them. All the buildings, save one, that is. This building was so gigantic that even at the height that they were at, they were some distance below the tip of the building. Throughout the building, there were large layers of different styles of building work. Opening her wings, Char glided over to the massive building. Below a level of baroque decoration, a panel large enough for Char to glide inside opened as Hebron pressed a button on the remote control he had retrieved from a pocket below his armor. The human and dragon duo, their imp prisoner in tow, flew inside the large building, stopping only briefly as Hebron needed to identify the 3 of them to their security system. Officers 95, 151, and 10493, with seemingly ownerless imp to be questioned. "Enter," the mechanical voice intoned after Hebron waved some badge-like objects in front of a sensor. As soon as Char landed on the landing strip, conveniently placed in the section they had flown into, a man, wearing a suit of armor that was identical to Hebron's, save for being a vivid ultramarine blue, walked out. He looked an odd sort, as underneath the armor he had a red bandana covering his face from the nose down, and a large red Stetson-like hat with a white feather sticking out jauntily, covering his long white hair. And that is enough for now. The next reading, or excerpt, or whatever, will be on next Sunday. So, till tomorrow, see ya.